Welcome to the Path Podcast, where we will travel the lives of some bold women, from dreams to detours to destiny. She did not choose this path. This path chose her. This is the Path Podcast. Welcome back, Path listeners, to another episode of the Path Podcast with your sister, your motivator, your confidence builder, the one who believes that purpose is bigger than obstacles. Today, Path listeners, as we sit together bi-weekly, I want you to imagine, again, it's just you and I on the couch having a conversation. We both know it's a safe space and we trust each other. We're talking about life, the path that we've taken like we always do on the Path Podcast. And I say to you, as your sister friend, you are enough. I wonder what feelings come up in your body, because you can tell me anything. But as your sister friend, I believe you would be honest with me. More importantly, be honest to yourself. Do you know that to be true? Do you believe it? These are three simple words, but very powerful, that I believe every human being has at some point thought about, consciously or subconsciously. And let me be clear. You are enough, not because I said it. I read someone who clearly pointed this out. She said, her name is Melissa Wilkins. She said, because you are enough does not mean that you have been measured and considered and judged, and that you have finally earned the label of enough. It doesn't mean that you've worked long enough, tried hard enough, presented well enough. It's simply who you are. The you that you are is enough. And today, that's what I mean when I say you are enough. I heard another quote by Erin Bahadur. I hope I said that correctly. And she said, the world wants you to be exactly who you are, because nothing will happen if you aren't. You are enough, and your enough is what changes the world. Wow, that is powerful, and one of my new favorite quotes, I must say, moving forward. At some point in our lives, in our childhood, our teen years, our adult years, after a relationship or business, we have successfully, ladies, allowed something that was said to us or something we've said to ourselves to diminish our own self-worth. Diminished it to the point that even when we receive compliments, or if we receive some recognition, we say thank you and internally dismiss it, because at some point we have locked in on the less than image of ourselves. No one likes to admit that, but if you're honest, you know that is the truth. So in this solo episode, I wanted to talk about it because it's needed, right? And I will continue to talk about it as long as there are people existing on this earth. We will talk about this topic, I'm sure. Knowing and believing and feeling that you are enough is not just a huge one-time event and you're done. No, learning to live and move as someone who knows it and feel it may be a continuous process. And even when you feel like, okay, I love me some me, you have to remind yourself of reasons why, because, well, life happens. Life happens, and then there's social media. The pressure to stack up in our culture has multiplied. Looking at others on social media will make you think something is wrong with you. Or if you're still single at a certain age, looking at social media will cause you to think you need to earn a certain amount of money because you're watching other people. Social media will cause you to think that because you may have over 6K or million followers, that makes you more important or worthy. But that doesn't mean those people, half of them don't even like some of the people that they follow. It's crazy to me. And don't get me wrong, in business, we all want a large following. But something I've learned is I prefer to have a following where I'm effective in doing something that adds value to the people that follow me. Of course, I know numbers is a numbers game out there. I'm in business, so I understand the numbers game. I also know for my purpose, I want to be effective. I want to see people change their lives and transform and healed and free, because the world needs all of us to do what we are called to do, as we've said before. Another thing that watching social media will do if you're not careful, that big comparison game. And we know it's so many things that can go into the comparison game, even to what I've mentioned previously. And again, it's not all social media's fault. It's what we internalize. I could keep going on and on, but I bet you felt strongly about one of more of what I've just mentioned. We have a tendency to pick ourselves apart, put what's positive in your corner closet, and throw what you've been told, saw, or heard, or think of yourself on the bed next to you. It sleeps with you at night and screams, you don't have this, or you don't have that, or don't you wish this, or don't you wish that? It's a killer, ladies. Trust and believe it's a killer. And we have to stop that today. Your inner critic will tear your self-esteem to pieces if you are not intentional about changing the words you say to yourself. My sister, if you know this is something you can work on, start today. Working on it today is very important because it will change your life for the better when you start to move in the I am enough lane. There will be days, trust me, you feel it, and some days you don't. Okay, let me be transparent for you as I normally try to do. I am thankful to be in a safe space to know that I am enough. I still have to remind myself, though, of that in every situation, every relationship, every business venture I allow in my life. That is why you must keep healthy, positive people around you, because we will pick ourselves apart enough. The last thing I need is you adding your unsolicited opinions of me to me. You have to put that in the forefront of your mind. We have to also take responsibility for the things that we allow in our lives that we know is not good for us. At my age today, if you had asked me this 25, 30 years ago, where would I be financially and or professionally? Without a doubt, I would say I was making 6 to 7 figures and climbing the ladder. I would be an executive in some corporate America or running my own business. Whoo, child, I'm a lot behind. But today I know I got what it takes to get there. I may have questioned it 10 to 15 years ago, but not today. Do I have to remind myself? Let me say it this way. Oh, hell yeah. Over and over and over again. The confidence in my abilities won't let me believe otherwise. And besides, I love that God will always remind us of what he told us in Genesis 1:26 through 28. It said, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Here's number 28. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over it, the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Everyone, that word subdue means to overcome, conquer, to defeat. How can you sit back, read that, and try not to? I know it's a timing, y'all, because we hear these things and we receive it at certain times in our lives. But how can you not hear that and know that's not meant for you? You are to overcome, conquer, and defeat what is in front of you right now, even if it's your own negative thoughts in your mind. What negative words that someone else has said to you that you are repeating over and over in your mind today that makes you question if you are enough? It could be something that was said to you 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago from an auntie, from a parent, from an uncle, which could be the most damaging because those are the ones that we love and we respect what they say. But you have to rebuke what some of your loved ones say to you at times and set boundaries if you have to. You cannot allow it to become your identity. Just saying you let it go is not healing it. If this is something you need help with today, moving forward, I always suggest seeking therapy to talk this stuff out You have to get it up out of you. Therapy should be the new annual checkup for all of us. Or if you're someone who feels like they just need encouragement and counseling, consider a life coach like myself. I have a list of therapists and counselors, life coaches that I can recommend to you so you can make a sound decision for yourself, because there is someone called for everyone out there. Ladies, it's time to move forward. I am not looking to let this topic go because I feel strongly about it. I had intentions of doing an episode for the month of October. The last episode, we dealt with domestic violence, and I was considering doing breast cancer because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month also. And with all the wonderful stories out there, because it's needed, it's the second cause of death for women out there. Remember to get your checkups, do all of that, ladies, because that's a way we also take care of ourselves. But today I was just led to do this episode on knowing that you are enough, because I believe this is something that's killing us slowly if we're not careful. It's just not the same as breast cancer. Definitely it's not. But it is something still that we have to deal with that is very detrimental to our health. Start your journey today. Just remember you are human. The same way we try to work out or eat healthier for health reasons or to shed a few extra pounds is the same way we have to do things when it comes to our thoughts. Feed it positivity daily. Change what you hear and speak, who and what you are listening to, and what you are speaking to yourself. Now let's review a few points that I know to be true and how you can learn to be content and satisfied with knowing who you are and that you are enough. Understand, number one, that no one is perfect. You can look at whomever you deem to be successful, beautiful, or inspiring, but I am here to tell you they get up each day and do the same thing you do every day yourself. And that's breathe air in and breathe air out. That almost puts us on the same playing field. But we all know too, people who experience COVID and fighting for breath and air knows that it was still different, even to simply just say we breathe air in and out. So everyone, just know that you're not perfect. A new job won't make you perfect. A new body won't make you perfect. And definitely a new man or woman won't make you perfect. If your goal is to be perfect, you will fail every time. You can have goals to perfect your craft, but just know that you're still in a learning process as you perfect your craft. Thinking you have to be perfect will make you think you have to be self-sufficient and you don't need anyone else. We all need help in some things and at some point in our lives. The second point that I know to be true to help you learn to be content and satisfied with knowing who you are is to stop the comparison trap. Comparing yourself to someone else is unfair and stores up feelings of inadequacy in you, because most times you're comparing yourself to someone you either aspire to be like. And if they would tell you, if they're those ones who share their journey and their story to where they are today, they will tell you how it wasn't easy. Maybe they'll tell you some of their own issues of trying to make sure they know who they are and that they were enough to get to the place where they are today. And sometimes just because you see someone at a certain level, if it's making the money or the followers or on TV, that doesn't mean that they still think they are enough. We still have to work on those things. You've seen that over time, other people telling those stories of how they had to get to that place. To those who are honest, they will tell you that path to where they are today is not linear. No one's path is. Oh my goodness, this is something that I wish everyone could get. It's a dangerous game to compare yourself, because we are all raised differently than the other person. Even some of the people we're close to, we're raised differently. And our gifts and talents are different. Our environments are different. And you have to know yourself to be who you are called to be. Let's go back to that opening quote, that since doing this, I've changed it up to make it more personal. And instead of saying the world, I'll say God wants me to be exactly who he made me to be, because nothing will happen if I'm not. I am enough, and my enough is what will change this world. You can quote me on that one. Don't be too hard on yourself. The path to self-improvement begins with self-compassion. The third point I want to give you is there is more right about you than you care to admit. There's a great quote by John Kabat-Zinn that says, as long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than there is wrong, no matter how ill or how hopeless you may feel. My takeaway from that is we have another chance, because as long as I'm breathing, I can do something. I can be healed. I can change things, and I can turn them around. And it starts with the mind. We don't have to wait until January 1st to start something. You can start today. Why not? The fourth point I know to be true in knowing who you are and that you are enough is learning to accept who and where you are today as you work to become a better version of yourself. A better version is not saying you are not enough today as you are. In your mess, in your brokenness, you are still enough. Because again, the previous one, you have breath in your body. You can get this stuff right. You can change things and turn it around. For me, I still believe that I can have that 7-figure business. Or if you have an illness in your body, through your faith, I hope you have, that you can believe that you can be healed. And where we are still enough. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Be honest about the things you are not doing to help your business or your healing. Remind yourself that everyone didn't start out where they are today. Some people didn't have to start out where I'm starting out, but there were a lot that did and built successful businesses that I can look to for inspiration. Not comparison, but inspiration. And again, I don't want to be them because I am who I am. And that is enough for me to do what God has called me to do. The fifth point I know to be true and to help you on this journey of knowing that you are enough is not allowing yourself to hate your way into loving yourself. You cannot hate yourself into loving yourself. I read a quote by Laura Deshane. She said, we can't hate ourselves into a version of ourselves we can love. That is so true. The people you're comparing yourself to, believe it or not, they're comparing themselves to other people. I just recently experienced a wonderful event hosted by this pastor name is Pastor Legina Crawford of PowerPoint Christian Ministries. It's a fairly new ministry, 2 years old, here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going on 2 years for her. And she had an event called The Room Experience. One portion of the event is where a group of women sat in this room and we honestly spoke kind words to the other woman sitting next to us. A lot of times it was someone that person knew next to them. And it was interesting to me to see the ladies who knew each other, how they complimented the other person and told them what they admired about her. And the other person was just in awe and shocked. It was hard for some of the women to even accept that compliment. It was even hard for some women to receive the compliments, as if they were looking at themselves and say, you're looking at me that way? And the other woman is like, yes. And then she's looking at her saying what she admired about that person and what she wanted to grow in her walk by watching her. So everybody was looking at each other and saw the greatness in the person, that the other person was not saying they didn't believe it, but I think they were just shocked. But that's how the world is. We look at other people thinking they got it all together, but then that person is sitting there looking at other people, and as they aspire to still be a better version of themselves. We admire those we aspire to be like. We just have to be very careful allowing it to diminish who we are, so we don't try to be like someone else instead be the best version of who I am. But take some of those great things I see in my other sister. Why? Because I may need to work on that particular thing in my life. It's mind-blowing that we see the beauty, gifts, and talents in others and then diminish our own beauty, gifts, and talents. Let's make it an intentional effort to stop it today, sister. Now, we all should again be intentional about our growth. So don't confuse looking at someone like a mentor or for your own self-improvement the same way you look at the comparison game on why you're not good enough. I am actively looking a lot more at Lisa Nichols. I've watched her over the years and I'm back watching her again because she's someone I'm looking at as my mentor that she doesn't know that she is. But I aspire to do a lot of what she's doing in my way, differently than she does because her story is different, but the business she's built is something I aspire to do myself. Check yourself to be mindful of both sides and always be aware that everyone has completely different life experiences and some luck. Telling yourself that you're a failure won't make you more successful. Telling yourself that you're not lovable or don't think you're worthy of love won't make someone love you either. We hear it all the time. You can't expect someone to love you if you don't love yourself. If I've watched Lisa Nichols and follow her and get a lot of her teachings, I know I can be a great speaker just like she is. But I am different. My business will be different. And that is my superpower. No one person is called to everyone except God. And we still have to invite him into our lives. He is consistent, doesn't change, and never left, just waiting on us to seek him to help us get to the place where we need to be. Ask him to help you stop questioning whatever you need help with today. It's as simple as saying that. Give what you feel a name and pray over that. Work on that. Change those words that are negative into something positive. Find the opposite of the negative and repeat it until you believe it. Put it up on your bathroom mirror. It's like working out. You don't go to the gym on day one expecting to come home with ripped abs the first day. Well, we all wish that miracle thing could happen, but it won't. That's the same way you have to talk to yourself daily. It's a repeat thing. Put it on repeat and say something positive to yourself every day until you believe it. Well, Path listeners, I hope today's show gives you some information to help you think about where you are today in knowing who you are and that you are enough, and challenge the not enough mindset. Focus on the things that you cherish about yourself today. And I encourage you to always do self-improvements. We all are forever growing no matter our age. Knowing who you are will help you accept positive compliments as truth. Not because the person said it to you, but because you know it and believe it to be true yourself. It will make some of those compliments that you get from someone else like thank you and just walk away clean. I could go on about that, but I'll leave that right there. In closing, we're all different again. And hear me when I say that is a good thing. If I needed a lawyer, I'm not going to a caterer or vice versa. Let's embrace our differences, not as better or worse than, but just different. Be kind to yourself. I will end the show with that quote I read earlier. The world wants you to be exactly who you are because nothing will happen if you aren't. You are enough, and your enough is what changes the world. If you want to hear more content like this, please let me know. If you have questions or would like some answers on certain things, please reach out to me. All of my contact information will be in the closing of this podcast. Until next time, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us. Don't forget, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other platforms. So you can stay up on our bi-weekly, real conversations with these bold women. You can follow The Path Podcast on Facebook at The Path Podcast and on Instagram and Twitter at The Path_podcast. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or have questions for a future show, you can email us at thepath4ward@gmail.com. That's thepathforward@gmail.com. And if you're looking for a speaker or you're in need of a life coach, please reach out to me. Again, at thepathforward@gmail.com or at ACKORLEH@gmail.com. Thank you. Until next time.